Hi, my name's Simon Colosimo and welcome to today's live Q&A. Before we get underway, I'd like to congratulate the three finalists in the ISC third jersey competition. They're Maxim Shevchuk, Stephen Forbes and Adam Adra. Their designs will be posted on our Facebook shortly. We look forward to making what is set to be a very difficult decision in choosing the winner. Now onto the questions. If you'd like to take part, email online at melbourneheartfc.com.au.
Thanks, Simon. Our first question comes from Ash Jansen, who asks, what do you think Melbourne Heart as a team need to do in terms of playing style and tactics to become a potential A-League powerhouse?
Well, I think our style and tactics were both excellent last season. I think we were very exciting going forward. We definitely engaged the supporters with our attacking style and flair. One thing that we probably need to do is become a little bit more resilient in defence as a group, as a team, as a club, and sometimes when we go 1-0 up, maybe that's enough, and just settle for that and to pick up the 3 points just to build that confidence and build ourselves into a good position come the end of the season.
Bill Tamaris has sent through a question and asked, following the departure of Michael Beecham, what type of central defender you think will work best to partner you on the field?
Well, I thought Michael was excellent for us. I thank him for his time here, and I think he's going to be a great player for Sydney. Who will partner me? I think Tomo and I played together a fair bit last season, so there's that possibility. There's I think he played some really good games, and especially towards the end of the season started to get into the swing of playing constantly at centre half. So I think that's probably caused a bit of a problem with the coaches, because they know he can do that. So who would be ideal? Well, let's get Carvalho or John Terry or someone, but that's unrealistic. I think we've got some great young boys coming through. Brendan Hamill he's a guy that I think is going to be a superstar. I think he's a future Socceroo in the making, there's no doubt. And we've also signed another young player, Curtis Good, who's coming real good. He looks to be the real deal too. So I think we've got good players here who can play with me here.
Now, next question comes from Ronnie Zeng, who asks, now that we have the opportunity to take advantage of a full pre-season, what changes do you think we'll have compared to last season?
Well, I think the season preparation. I think we were quite fit and sharp and strong, but I don't think we had the K's in the tank as a group. I think you need to build that resilience in your own body as an individual, and that's what we're doing right now. This first month of pre-season's about getting your individual bodies right, and so it can become resilient and be ready for the rigours of a full season.
Now, Steve Forbes has sent through a question, and he wants to know, what is your most memorable on-field moment?
Oh, and I'll give you two. I'll give you a Melbourne Heart one and a memorable moment. My most memorable moment was probably in 2000, the opening game of the Olympics here at the MCG in Melbourne. Just standing there listening to the national anthem. I think there was 80,000 Aussies singing along, and I still get goosebumps thinking about it. The most memorable moment at Melbourne Heart is game one of the season, leading out the team, the club, the fans, and with my son holding his hand and walking out was a very proud moment for me.
Our next question is from Lachlan White, who asks, if you could have one player in history to play in the back line next to you, who would it be?
Wow. In history, I'd say Gentile. He was an Italian central defender who kicked hell out of Maradona in the '82 World Cup. So probably him, because he can take the bookings and the sendings off, and I won't have to worry about them.
Now, Al has a question in relation to goals. You may be a defender, but you've scored a few goals throughout your career. Which is the most memorable one you've scored?
might think I'm lying, but away to Adelaide for Melbourne Heart, I think we were at a point that everyone was writing us off last season, including probably ourselves. We stopped believing slightly in ourselves, and I think we'd gone 6 or 7 games without getting a result, and we were 1-0 down, and backs against the wall, 3 or 4 minutes to go, and I scored a goal. It wasn't the greatest goal, it was just off a corner, and then Johnny scored the winner, and we really gave ourselves a chance in that game to play finals last year. Although it didn't happen, that was a very memorable and important goal for me.
Our next question is from Harry, who asks, 10 years ago, the landscape of football in Australia was very different. How do you rate it now, and where do you see it in 10 years' time?
Look, the sky's the limit of where it could be. Where was it? What are the differences? I think obviously it's more professional. There's a lot more mainstream media at the moment. There's the opportunities to do this. There probably wasn't that 10 years ago, or maybe we were a little bit behind and not able to do it. But moving forward, where could we be in 10 years' time? Well, we could probably have average memberships at each A-League club of maybe 15,000, and each club hopefully having their own junior development system similar to to what your Barcelonas or Manchester Uniteds or these clubs have, where guys are starting at 9 years old and they're Melbourne Heart players, and they've got the opportunity to go for the whole ride.
Now, BZA wants to know, do you still follow or attend games in the state leagues, and do you think it will continue to be a really important breeding ground for future talent, such as the likes of Adrian Zara and Nick Calamar, who came through the system there?
Look, in terms of breeding and whether it's important to get players from there. Look, you mentioned those boys, Adrian and Nick. Another one's Aziz Beige, who he was on the other side of the yarrow, if you want to call it, and then he got let go and ended up in the Premier League, and then came with us, and he was our Fans Player of the Year. He played an excellent game the other night for the Socceroos, so it shows how far he's come. Nick Calamar, Adrian Zara, our coaches, and JVS especially, he doesn't care where the players come from. If it's going to be State Division 2 or the Victorian Premier League or wherever it may be, they could come from overseas. Everyone's treated the same, and they come in, they get the same opportunities as the guy standing or sitting next to them. And if they can perform, they'll play. And testament to those boys, because they did it the hard way. They came with no reputations, and they played very well for us.
Braveheart wants to know, how have you found the atmosphere inside Amy Park on match days, and what are the team's thoughts on the tifo displays and the wonderful noise made by the Yarra side at the south end?
Look, I'll say it again, and you'll have heard me say it before, and you'll hear me say it many more times, that Amy Park is the greatest football venue in this country. There is nothing better. And the Yarra side, I think it took us players a little while to, it's obviously new club, new start, trying to mix with the supporters and know what they want. But I think we've got a good relationship, and knowing that no matter what, I don't think I heard a boo or anything like that last season. Even when the chips were down, it was always positives out there, and we're starting to really enjoy ourselves.
Now, Cameron has sent through a question, and he wants to know, if you had the chance to pick any current Socceroo to play at Heart for one season, who would it be and why?
Current Socceroo at Heart. God, I could pick many of them. Most supporters would probably like to see, say Tim Cahill. He was a big advocate of ours at the start of the season when we played them. At the start of last season when we played them, he's great for all of that. But in terms of footballer, maybe someone like Luke Wilkshire. The guy goes unnoticed, but he does everything that's asked of him to the highest possible level, and he's out of tens, he's your eights or nines every single week. So I think he'd do very well at this club.
Now we have a question from Woody who asks, now that you're entering the latter years of your career, what apart from a championship would you like to see happen at Melbourne Heart in the next few seasons?
Well, there's only that, to be honest. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to win a championship, but I think we've built a great brand off the field, not only off the field but on the field too, and hopefully we can build on that, and we can have JVS plays a certain way and Melbourne Heart plays a certain way, and hopefully in time we can have a little 9-year-old team playing that same way. So come when they're 16, 17, it's it's all there. They know what they're doing, and they know the system and what this club's about on the field, and we can move on from there.
Now, Cadet has asked, what are the notable differences between playing in a football city like Melbourne and playing up north of the border in Sydney?
Look, there's no doubt that Melbourne is the sporting capital of this country, probably of the world. I think anyone who comes to live in Melbourne, I grew up in Melbourne, and I followed the AFL, and now I still, I'd been away for 10 years. I haven't been back living here, and it's got to the point where it's got me again. The AFL and sport, tennis, the cars. There's just something on all the time. Rugby league, rugby union. So, look, I think if you're going to be an athlete, there's only one place to do that, and that's here in Melbourne.
Now, next question is from Al, who asks whether you prefer to play football in winter like the rest of the world, or you like the way the season is in Australia and takes place over summer.
Look, you get to have summer all year round, because the winter here, which is just coming, is usually the off season, so you can go and get some sun somewhere else in the world. But look, I think it's very important that we play our football the same time as they do in Europe. Whether it be winter or summer, it happens to be summer, and it's just the way it is. I think it'd be silly not to be playing at the same time as the Premier League or the Italian Serie A or the Spanish La Liga.
Now, Stefan has sent through a question, and he wants to know, what are your hopes for Melbourne Heart this season?
There's, I'll set the goals high, and that's winning the championship. But we need to crawl before we walk. So that means getting out there and cementing a final spot as early as possible, and then where that is, which position on the table that is. Hopefully we've got a few games up our sleeve to decide where we sit. But playing finals is definitely our number one priority on the field. I think I'm the only person in my family who isn't in the building trade. And if I didn't play football, I probably still wouldn't. Look, I really don't know. It's all I've known up until now. I started as a professional from, well, you could say when I went to the AIS as a 16 or 17-year-old. It was all about football from then.
Now, Jazzy has sent through a question, and he wants to know, do you have a nickname among the boys in the change rooms?
Yeah, my nickname's Shimmer.
Can you explain the background to that?
Well, it started when I was at the AIS. There was quite a number of Croatian players there, and they told me that Simon in Croatian is Shimmer, so they started calling me Shimmer, and from there it just continued on. I've even had national team coaches call me Shimmer, and coaches call me Shimmer. So I think there's, it's fair to say that that's my nickname.
Now, Bradley sent through a question. He wants to know, what's the best memory from your childhood football career in your junior days?
My junior days, we used to play this cup. It was the Italian Cup. I played for Brunswick Uranus. And I just I don't remember a particular game, but I just remember, the 2 weekends or the 3 weekends that it was over, that it was just the greatest thing. It was the most spoken about thing, and getting out there and getting trophies. And I've got two brothers, so my older brother would play, and then I'd play, and then my younger brother, or vice versa. And just that tournament was really something that I loved. I still got photos of it now, and I just loved it.
Now, Simon, Sam asks, after football, what's next for Simon Colosimo?
What's next? Well, it'll be something at Melbourne Heart, I can tell you that much. I've really enjoyed my time so far here. I came to Melbourne Heart and knew that with the people around it was going to be a great organisation, and I've only got praise. So hopefully, if things go well, I can play for another 8, 10, maybe 12 years, and then I can worry about what comes after that.
Finally, Simon, we'll wrap up the chat here. We know you've got to go. Do you have a message for our fans out there in cyberspace?
Yeah, look, thanks for checking out today's Q&A. Become a member, and we look forward to seeing you at wonderful Melbourne Park.